So you started to do the physical exercises?
Yes, just on my own, just from her book. And I like the names. I like the subtext. I particularly liked, very basic they were, but the references to meditation, relaxation, peace of mind, all these things were highly, highly interesting to me.
And it had an effect on you, presumably, too, did it?
I think it, in a way, it did, actually. Because at that same time, I was also captivated by God and religion. So I went to church. I went to see my priest a few times to ask questions and didn't get satisfactory answers. So I was seeking for a religious answer to my yearning for that which is beneath the apparent, and wasn't finding it. So I think the book that my mum brought home that I saw and read gave me the knowledge that there was about Eastern religions. And from that, Buddhism became very important to me for quite some years.
So what was driving you underneath? What do you feel was the impulse, the energy that were pushing for something?
Yearning, definitely.
Yeah.
Yearning has been the most prominent, powerful driver in my whole life. Despite any obstacles, that's never gone away. It's always been powerful and reliable. So yearning for meaning and yearning for God.
And what did God mean to you then?
Well, then God meant, what did it mean then? I suppose then God was all-knowing. God was...
So it was the answers to your questions.
Yes,
somehow.
yes,
Yeah.
and because I was going to church, I was a young boy going to Sunday school. I was told God was the Father. Now that image didn't work for me, but the sense that God was behind everything. God was behind everything. I could see what was apparent in the world. I could see my body and all these things and the tasks I was asked to perform and my schooling and the fact I was expected to conform. I didn't want to conform, definitely. I didn't want to conform. It didn't fit easily with me because I had this imaginative past. I had this strong sense of otherness. I didn't want to conform, but I was being asked to conform. So I was looking for something beyond the apparent, something non-conventional, something that would explain the universe. And God, I was told, was that. So my seeking, if you like, then became religious for a time. But I could get it wasn't powerful enough. The responses I was getting weren't powerful enough. They weren't deep enough.
So you weren't touched somehow, or you weren't touched.
It was
at a deep enough
superficial.
level.
I honestly thought it was superficial.
Yeah.
It was timid. It wasn't radical enough.
So you mentioned that you explored Buddhism.
Yeah.
What did you find there?
Well, again, it was captivating to me. The Eastern religions became captivating because they gave me the impression of power. They were deep, not superficial. They seemed to almost be magical in their in what they were offering. And Buddhism has such clarity in it, such beautiful clarity, so profound. Nothing like I had been given to date from my teachers and the priests and so forth. It was very profound and deep. Otherness. It was otherness. And that's what I craved. And I felt there was something here. Also, it was old. It felt ancient. And I've always been a sucker for that.
Ancient wisdom was there somewhere.
Yeah, ancientness. Things which are beyond time, smack of authenticity. So it had a kind of archetypal, compelling honesty to it, which I liked very much. And even the format of it, the practices, the symbolism, I found captivating. It was all very captivating. Eastern religion. And I was still quite young then, 14.
And you were doing this on your own, basically, or you started to go to a group or study group, or?
No, on my own. Then 14, 15, up till about 19, I suppose. Then I did try and learn about Buddhism. I read books. I began to meditate. I remember doing a correspondence course. I remember writing at one point in my despairing to try and find a route. I remember writing to the Burmese consulate. I was quite young, probably 16, asking if I could go to Burma and stay in one of the meditation centres I was reading about. But I never got a reply.
It's that bad postal system in Burma.
There you are.
Yeah. So what came next in your adventure there? So you tried Buddhism for a time?
Well, I think yoga has been the place where I have found potential. You know, yoga is quite well affiliated with Buddhism, so while I was interested in the philosophy of Buddhism and practicing Buddhist meditation, yoga was always in the background. And during those years and slightly after those years, yoga became the way for me to explore detail, because Buddhism, I had done quite a bit in Buddhism, but not really plunged in to detail. And yoga was the place where I then went into detail and studied deeply and practiced deeply.
And what kind of yoga was that?
Well, yoga is such a diverse term, isn't it? I think I'd like to say something about that, because yoga, I think, has become confused. Yoga is cluttered. Yoga is quite messy, I think, these days. The essence of yoga is very, very, very simple. It's profoundly simple, very honest. The essence of yoga is spiritual resolution. It is the coming together of that which seems to be the individual with the greater spirit. To put it in those simple terms, it is unity. Non-duality is a word that means something to you. So the essential origin of yoga is that. The authenticity of yoga is that. But around it has built up an amazing diversity of eclectic techniques and approaches and practices and theories. And I think that often happens in human life, that what is the essence of something gets embellished and elaborated by the minds of people. In a way, it's humorous and quite entertaining, and there's nothing wrong with it. It brings a lot of interest to people. The practices of yoga are fantastic. I practice them myself, I teach them, I train people to teach them. So they all have a value, but yoga, the essence of yoga, is absolutely non-duality. And that's what I sensed, even though I didn't know it, when I was 14, looking in my mum's yoga book. It was that power, the power at the heart of it, I sensed then, but couldn't explain.
So talk about this power at the heart of it a bit more, what it means to you now.
Yeah. Well, yoga is a journey within. And the answers to all the things that I wanted are obviously within. Now, within just means inner, it means intimacy. So yoga is a method, a way of becoming familiar with that inner intimacy. Now, when I teach and talk, I like to use the word spirit, because I think it's meaningful to people. So it's a simple word, but I like it, spirit. It speaks of something of the heart, some essential quality, the essential I. What is the essential I? All of these things are happening, jobs and work and this conversation and thinking and doing and all these things. But what's the essential I? What's the background? Yoga has been able for me